talking about is licking toads to get high. Now, for years, various Indians of Central America have ingested the hallucinogenic secretions of toads, but that practice, according to the Drug Enforcement Administration, is against the law. At first glance, the toad does not look like a criminal.
Lick the dog, lick.
What we're talking about is licking toads to get high. Now, for
If you having trouble with the high school help, it's giving you the blues. You want to graduate but not in his bed. Here's what you gotta do. Pick up the phone, now I'm always home. Call me anytime. Just ring 362-436. Hey, I lead a life of crime. Dirty deeds, down and dirt cheap. Dirty deeds, down and dirt cheap. Dirty deeds, down and dirt cheap. Dirty deeds and the down and dirt cheap. Dirty deeds and the down and dirt cheap. You got problems in your life of love. You got a broken heart. It's double dealing with your best friend. That's when the teardrop starts, fella. Pick up the phone, I'm there alone. Or make a social call. Come right in, forget about him. We'll have ourselves a ball. Hey, dirty deeds, down and dirt cheap. Dirty deeds, down and dirt cheap. Dirty deeds, down and dirt cheap. Dirty deeds and the down and dirt cheap. Dirty deeds and the down and dirt cheap. If you got a lady and you want her go, but you ain't got the guts, she keeps nagging at you night and day, enough to drive you nuts. Pick up the phone, leave her alone. It's time you made a stand. For a fee, I'm happy to be your backdoor man. Dirty deeds, down and dirt cheap. Dirty deeds, down and dirt cheap. Dirty deeds, down and dirt cheap. Dirty deeds and the down and dirt cheap. Dirty deeds and the down and dirt cheap. Concrete shoes, cyanide, TNT, down and dirt cheap. Neckties, contracts, high voltage, down and dirt cheap. Dirty deeds. Down and dirt cheap. Dirty deeds. Down and dirt cheap.
Do you truly, in your heart of hearts, truly believe that this is a human being? This,
Without a doubt.
without a doubt,
Yes.
this is a dolphin fetus.
So let me.
Without a doubt, a dolphin fetus is a human being. This is a human fetus. This is how similar they are. But quite different. Dolphin. You just confirmed that a dolphin, in life, you confuse dolphins for human babies often.
So let me
You
ask
go to
you a question.
SeaWorld and you're like, someone's got human babies in that aquarium.
Hold on. What do we got going on here? My camera is not the right size. What the heck? Just a second. Let's try this way. One sec. I'm going to go back into my transition. I guess it's not going to fix. I'll have to manually fix it, which is going to be a pain on each screen, but whatevs. I can do it that way for now, just to save time. Just pull myself out and look all weird and off-centered, but that's okay. Hey, hey, hey! All right, let's do this again. From the top, beauties and bees. So here we go. Hello, hello, and welcome to Live from the Hive. It is Saturday. It is February 17th, 2024, and we are live in the Hive, 9:43 a.m. Central Standard Time, and we have a great show ahead of us today, so thank you so much, and my camera's all over the place and wonky. Thank you so much. I've had quite the morning. I didn't get up late this morning. I just, I'm having hot flashes. If you can see, I'm dressed like it's July. I am so having hot flashes. Love the hormones. They're making my body beautiful, but good grief are they cooking. I guess when they're moving around and they're rearranging cells from, you know, from this fat storage formation to that one because of the estrogen and stuff, it's a lot of work and it burns through your body. And boy, is it burning through mine. I see Ember had a raid here for me this morning, and I do want to say, hey, sending hot flashes your way too, baby cakes. Let's rearrange some stuff. Let's get on it. My volume, up the volume on your mic a little. Oh goodness, yeah, I'm just having a morning. So thank you so much for sticking with me. All sorts of technical difficulties to make things more interesting. Let me see. Does it give me have the right mic linked in? I don't even know anymore. Yeah, there we go. All right. And yeah, headphones. Yeah, what a morning I'm having. Good grief. So I guess things got reset. Like Streamlabs does updates. I guess things got reset. I'm not sure, but I had to repopulate everything. Oh. Yeah, I'm just hot. Well, thank you. Thank you everybody for sticking with me too, and let me know if everything looks all right and sounds okay, because I just don't even know today. Let me check something too. Just checking the other one. Oh man, they're all gonna be like that. Why? Oh. Yeah, did you see when I don't, you all probably missed it, when I tried to start the show this morning, there was I'll just talk to you guys and do my opening spiel this morning while I fix all these. So, what was I saying? Oh yeah, it started a stream in the wrong, it just like started its own brand new fresh stream, even though I had this one on the deck. It was really weird and really annoying. And this is really annoying too. This is really annoying too, though, having to go through and adjust all this stuff live on camera. But you all want to see how the nobody wants to see how the sausage is made, but girl's got to do what she's got to do to get the show on the road as best as I can anyway, even though these are not lined up right. Even it's gonna annoy me, but I'm just gonna ignore it and just do my show, because fucking Streamlabs. I swear, every time I whine about it, I'm like, yeah, I need to switch which system I'm using. But I've got so many files saved on this one that I just wouldn't want. I just wouldn't want to do that. It would not work for me to have to transfer everything all over. Now, if there's a way that anybody knows to transfer over to like regular Streamlabs, this is Streamlabs OBS, right? It's a little bit different. That'll do. What's more center? Right, there we go. And you all can see how pedantic I am about stuff like this too. Isn't this interesting? Isn't this entertaining? Seeing me be pedantic about my screen sizes and stuff. Oh, made myself disappear. There we go. And this should be the last one. All right, so that's that. Good grief. Good freaking grief. I'm over it. I'm over it this morning. Thank you so much, everybody who stuck with me. Things should be back in order now. Things should be under control. So, and if there's any other issues that you're having in the audience, let me know. Obviously, we are going to get started right away because we are 3 minutes into the Cryptic Corner time slot, and I don't like being late. So, let's go on over there. I will see each and every one of you in Cryptic Corner today. All right, hello, my beauties and bees, and welcome to yet another installment of Cryptic Corner, where we explore the unexplained, the supernatural, the paranormal and hidden, the mysterious, the cursed, the alien and forbidden. I am your host, Miss Bumblebee, and today we are looking once again into the horrors that wait in our own backyard. Allegedly, and according to this folklore and creepypasta anyway, because today we are looking at a phenomena that is called the not deer. What is a not deer? Well, a not deer is a sort of cryptid that looks like a deer, but guess what? It's not. We're going to be watching a video by a channel called Darkness Prevails. They're kind of a storyteller channel, so that's what we're watching today. They have a lot of crazy stuff going on that they talk about, and we may revisit if I enjoy this video enough. They have everything from True McDonald stories to Bigfoot and everything in between. So it's varying quality, but the phenomena of not deer is a little bit. I think there's some truth to it, and we'll talk about it as we dive into the video. But without further ado, let's give them the floor.
They look like deer, but be warned. They're the furthest thing from the peaceful herbivores you're used to.
I'm gonna restart that. I don't know.
They look like deer, but be warned. They're the furthest thing from the peaceful herbivores you're used to. They're called simply not deer. These creatures might look like deformed or mutated deer. They might seem to be deer, but behave aggressively, intelligently, or even malevolently. Some might even appear to be something else wearing the skin of a deer to disguise itself.
Yes, that is right, Jason Jacoby. Not deer. N-O-T-D-E-R. It's like, yeah, N-O-T-D-E-R. Simple name. Tells you exactly what it is, or actually doesn't tell you exactly what it is. The only thing it tells you is what it's not. What it's supposed to look like it. I think the name comes from people will see them. say, "Did you see those deers?" And someone will say, "Those were not deer." So that's the idea I have, that's what a not deer is, but we'll see.
What it truly is, we may never know, but what we do know is they're terrifying. Enjoy these allegedly true, scary stories about sightings of not deer. By the way,
Y'all are missing the context, okay? I see you guys. I see Ember and I see Jason trying to crack this open. Listen, you have to think they're a deer, but they're not deer. That's what makes it a not deer. You have to think it's a deer, but it's not a deer. It's something else. You don't know what it is, but it's not a deer. That is a not deer. I love Dick so much. I have Dick Combat on my channel, but I didn't play it this morning. It was a new one. I got a couple of Dick bucks going at it for a female's attention. It's super cute. They're adorable. They're just like tough little bunny guys with their little taper snoots.
One of these stories is definitely from an older episode, and a few others seemed really familiar, so I apologize if I accidentally re-narrated some older stuff. Remember to send me your scary stories at darkstories.org, and be sure to follow Freaky Folklore on Spotify to help us make it to 100,000 Spotify followers before New Year's. The comment of the day comes from a previous episode titled Wrong Turn Horror Stories. This was posted by Fear Street, who says, "I took a wrong turn into my mom's bedroom one night as a kid. Scariest horror story of my life." My reply? I picked this comment because it brought back a childhood memory of mine of when I walked in on my parents taking a pit stop into Squishy Town. The only way.
Okay, we've all been there. I mean, maybe we haven't all been there, so we've all had something similar. Ember, do you see a llama and do you think it's a deer? I mean, if you do, I guess that could be a not deer. I've never had that happen. I've never been like, I think probably if there was like an actual animal that was that I thought was a deer, but it wasn't, it would probably be some other, already a dactyl, right? It would be, I mean, I think a camelid's probably a little bit too big for me to mistake for a deer, but I got an antelope, definitely, another like a bovid of some kind. There's like the vampire deer. Have you all ever seen the vampire deer? Because they are not actually even deers. They're deer. They're bovid. Well, okay. So let me clarify when I say deers. When I say deers, I mean the multiple species of deers. Each within that species, they're deer. It's the same thing with fish. You say fish for all the fish that are in the same species, and then fishes for multiple species of fish. You can do that same thing with deer. Yeah, the musk deer, I've talked about it on the channel before, but they aren't even deer. Sometimes they're called the water deer, musk deer, but they have super cool little thingy bits. Check that out. But they're not actually, I know these are the ones that are cervids. Which ones are not actually cervids? It's they're closely related to like caprids. Hold on, I was actually wrong. Definitely wrong about this. It's which deer is it that's not actually a deer? Yeah, pronghorn aren't actually antelopes either, but that's a completely different set of scenarios. They filled it. It's not the musk deer. Which deer is actually a bovid? All right, I will. I'll get back to you guys on that. I know that there's one that's called a deer, but it's not. This asshole. Yeah, I'm getting away from him. Here we go.
The way I could react back then was walking away and laughing all the way back to my room. I'm still coping with it to this very day. Leave a comment in today's episode and I might reply to it in one of the next ones if I find it interesting. Now, let's begin. There's something out there that only looks like deer. From Creeped Out. I used to live in a small southern town. The town parts were pretty run down and badly maintained, but the forests and running trails and parks were stunning. I moved out at the age of 18 once I'd graduated, and I had enough money in savings to get an apartment. Luckily for me, there was room at an apartment complex that was only 10 minutes of a walk from my favorite park. This park was my favorite because it had a long, winding running trail looping around it. After moving out and settling into my new apartment, I made it a habit of waking up at 6 a.m., 2 hours before I needed to be at work, and spending at least an hour at that running trail. Morning runs got me ready for the day and made my coffee afterward taste much better. One Tuesday morning, I went running as I would have any other workday. It was a bit colder than usual, but...
You know, I was right. It is the musk deer. I don't know what that other thing was talking about. Sorry, it was annoying me, so I was like, no, I know I'm right about this. I know that these are actually bovids. Bovidae. Right here. Musk deer. Siberian musk deer are not... I don't know why that other article said that they were cervids, because they are not cervids. They are bovids. What is wrong with... well, I don't know what was wrong with that other article. That is bizarre that it said that, because they are definitely in bovidae. Damn it, they're not cervids, they're bovids. Roar! I am mad. Yeah, I don't think I'm muted. I see my things bouncing. I don't have anything playing right now. I'm just getting mad about the deer. You might have heard a moment of silence while I was reading this, because I was like, I paused the video and I was reading it and I was like, you better be telling me that these are bovids, because everybody keeps saying they're deer and they're not. They're bovids. They're like little cows. Look at that. That's cute, right? But it's not a deer. It's a not deer. This is a real life not deer. Never deer. Yeah. Siberian musk deer. And they're adorable. Look at how adorable they are. Isn't that crazy? They're crazy cute. I don't think I've ever seen an animal with big long tusky fangs that's that cute. Have you? Look at it standing in the freaking snow. Oh my gosh, I want to pet it. I want to boop it and pet it. I love it. I'm in love with this deer. Alright. So, there's a whole group of them though. Anyway, but these are the not deer. But that's not what they're talking about. This jogger's talking about. Let's get back to him.
But nothing I couldn't handle. Half of this trail takes me through a wooded area with a few disc golf posts that no one ever used. For a few minutes, you'd find yourself surrounded by trees with no visibility of the road next to the...
Any disc golfers players out there? I want to play disc golf. Someone needs to teach me how, though. I don't know how, but it looks fun. I'd love to go play disc golf with some friends sometime. Sheep squatch are not deer. Well, are they sheep? Are they not sheep? I bet not sheep and not deer. Yeah.
Park, nor the rest of the park itself. Anyway, a few minutes into my walk that day, I made it to this section of the trail. I rounded one of the bends and stopped. Straight ahead of me was a buck. The sight of it startled me, but looking at how odd the thing appeared to be took my breath away.
Alright, okay, I'm cool with not deer, and not cows, and not llamas, not sheep, but I'm not gonna, where I'm drawing the line is not zebus, because we're not gonna have not zebus. That's not a thing that we can say.
Its legs appeared broken or malformed in some way, as if they had too many joints and were too long or too short. The buck's entire body trembled as it breathed in, and the face was all messed up. Deer aren't supposed to have forward-facing eyes like a predator, but I kid you not, this deer's eyes set right at the front where its forehead was. Its mouth hung open as it breathed, raspily. Its teeth were a hue between brown and yellow.
And I know they're telling this story to be scary and to, like, oh, it's a cryptid of some kind, but let's be frank, this person saw a deer with what's called chronic wasting disease, right? They're skinny and bony, and they walk funny, and they shiver, and they may have sores and patches on them because they are always hurting themselves because their legs are going to be crumpled and they're going to walk weird. And it's really absolutely terrifying inside. And their faces are so sunken that their eyes look like they're pulled forward. It's really sad, but it's not a cryptid. So I'm going to say this first sighting is going to be debunked, but let's let them go on with the description and see if it sounds like chronic wasting disease to you guys. And I'll read the symptoms of chronic wasting disease in a second.
And they were sharper than I thought a deer's teeth would be. I turned right around and began to jog away, pretending I hadn't seen it. But it knew. I soon heard the clumsy clomping of hooves on concrete behind me. I nearly screamed. I glanced back and saw it half walking, half running towards me. The way its 4 legs scuttered in no way resembled a deer. It lacked all grace and normalcy. It looked as if its legs would snap in half at any moment. Seeing this, I ran full speed out of the trail.
Okay, so chronic wasting disease symptoms are including but not limited to behavioral changes and occurrence in the majority of cases, weight loss over time, decreased interaction with other animals, listlessness, lowering of the head, tremors, repetitive walking in set patterns, and nervousness, excess salivation, and grinding of the teeth are also observed. Most deer show increased drinking and urination. Increased drinking and salivation may contribute to the spread of the disease. Loss of fear of humans and appearance of confusion are also common. Behavioral changes, emaciation, weakness, ataxia, salvation, aspirational pneumonia, progressive death.
When I made it to the road and away from the woods, I looked back. There was no deer in sight. I ran on back home hoping that I just imagined it, but obviously that was just me trying to deal with the intense dread I felt. I have no idea what it was. It certainly wasn't a normal deer. Maybe it was a buck with some sort of birth defect that had managed to survive this long. Maybe it was an extremely diseased animal. Still, both of these excuses don't seem to explain it. These days, I stay on the half of the trail that doesn't.
Yeah, it is a prion disease. Yeah, like mad cow disease, kind of, except for it affects in, I guess, globally. We'll see. We have mule deer, white-tailed deer, red deer, sika deer, elk, caribou, and moose. So everything in I want to make sure I say this right. Basically, everything in Cervidae can be impacted by this. It looks like. At least the Caprolinae. But I mean, just because it hasn't spread to these other groups doesn't mean it can't.
Cut through the woods.
And yeah, it's sort of the folklore around the knot deer is sort of like a skinwalker thing, but I don't think the knot deer are skinwalkers. I think that they're deer with wasting disease or other afflictions. There's a lot of different characteristics that can be brought forth or brought out in a species when they're dealing with certain afflictions, especially afflictions that make them want to grind on stuff and cause sores and stuff. You'll see a lot of these pictures of the wasting disease deer with like big bloody patches or big raw patches on them and stuff. And that's because they're like grinding their teeth. It's really sensory, and also they're clumsy and falling all over the place. in the forest. So they're getting cuts and scrapes. And you've walked through the forest, you kind of know. Could you imagine what it would be like to be falling all over the place walking through the forest? And that's their life until they die. Just getting progressively worse. It's a terrible way to go.
That's not a deer. From Kelly Fox. This happened in winter of 2019. It was late, probably around 1 a.m. My best friend at the time, Stevie, realized she was out of smokes, and we don't smoke the same kind, so she convinced me to go out. It was freezing that night. The kind of night where there's no wind, but the chill in the air is so cold, you can feel it in your bones. As my late Nana would say, it's raw outside, which I always thought described that kind of cold well. We hurried to my van and got...
I'd like to say it freaking cuts into my bones. That's where I feel it the worst, right? Is when it's super cold, it cuts right into my bones, and that's where all the aching starts, and it works its way out. The video is very loud. Okay, I can pull that down.
Got in quickly. It didn't take long. The store is only down the road, so we were only gone for like 10 minutes anyway.
We about the same now?
When we drove into my uncovered driveway, the headlights of my van lit up the piece of my backyard you can see through the mesh fence, and into the right side of the yard, which goes back a ways, hits another mesh fence, and then goes into a small clearing and a tree line that leads into some woods. Basically,
Cocaine Bear was a hit. Why not Murder Deer? There's a zombie sheep movie from Scotland that is freaking gold and has been overlooked. For people who like movies like Velocipaster and things like that, and Lamageddon, those kind of cheesy movies, watch, what's the zombie sheep movie from New Zealand? Hold on. Black Sheep? Is that the one from New Zealand? Yeah, Black Sheep, yes. It's so silly and cheesy. Watch that movie if you like this. If you like this guy, there's also Zombievers. Zombievers is cheesy popcorn fun, like shoestring budget, but someone put a lot of love in the practical effects and stuff on it, so it's really cheesy and good. If you like that sort of thing, but yeah, Cocaine Bear was a hit. I've seen people put crack coons, right? Crack coons would be funny. Raccoons on crack. Things like that are milking that Sharknado kind of humor and action, right?
the entire right side of the yard was lit up from the headlights. We didn't get out of the car right away. That was just our routine, to smoke a cigarette while the van is still warm before going in. But it didn't take long for Stevie to point out that we were not alone. After I lit my cigarette, I handed her the lighter, and she asked, "What's that deer doing in your yard? Why is it just standing there? Is there something wrong with it?" I suddenly didn't feel the warmth of the van anymore, and my heart skipped a beat. I looked over into the yard, and standing in my headlights was the outline of what looked to be a deer at first. I didn't take my eyes off of it, but I grabbed Stevie's arm and said, "That's not a deer. Get in the back and stay down." I must have sounded serious, but she did what I said without hesitation. I would not have succumbed to the idea that just because this person was afraid of this diseased deer that I needed to go hide in the back seat. That would not be my response. I mean, a lot of people maybe would, but I'm like super into it. I'd be like, oh my gosh, no, slowly move forward. We're going to see. And then I'd probably call the local Fish and Wildlife, because they need to know if there is this contagious, highly contagious disease in the deer population in their jurisdiction. They need to know that, so you should report it, and not to. I mean, you can report it to
darkstories.org too, but you should probably report it to the animal control folks as well.
The figure, which
Yeah.
for the most part looked just like a deer. But the longer I looked, the more I knew something was wrong. The flesh looked necrotic and was falling off, skin sliding off as it stood there, like it was rotting right before my eyes. The antlers were small, but they were covered in what looked to be blood, and as I finally got to look at its face, it had a set of blue eyes that looked human. It had a mouth with lips, and I swear it was smiling. It was smiling like it saw an old friend. I was frozen with fear for a moment, like time slowed down once I realized.
So, just a deer can have blue eyes, right? The caribou's eyes actually change from gold to blue seasonally. It's really cool trick they do to help them see when the world's snowy, right? Nifty. But like a piebald deer may have blue eyes. Albino deer may have blue or pink eyes. Or I guess it wouldn't be a true albino; it would be Lewistic if it had blue eyes. But yeah, there's different conditions that a deer can be born with to give it blue eyes. It sounds like by the talking about blood and stuff being on the antlers though, and it being all torn up, it sounds like it might just have been a buck that was just in a fight. That's what it sounds like to me. What do you guys think? Did this guy see a buck that just been in a fight? I don't know about the blue eyes and stuff. I mean, it's peculiar. It is peculiar, but it's not. I mean, it doesn't mean it was a horror movie monster, a deer with blue eyes. There are so many generic variations within cervids. That's why they do so well over such wide ranges.
It seemed to know me. I was only able to start moving because the thing began to mouth words. I noped the heck out of there and climbed into the back seat with Stevie. When I got back there, she started to open her mouth, but I gave her the shh signal, so she stopped. After about 10 minutes of complete silence, I decided to take a look, which I wish I hadn't, or I wish I'd waited longer, because when I looked, it was trying to climb over the fence. It now had human legs, arms with hooves, and a half-deer face. The deer skin had seemed to have fallen off completely by now, and it revealed new human-looking skin. Before I was able to duck down, it must have sensed me, because it looked back and we locked eyes one last time. It was still smiling, so I went back to hiding. We probably waited.
So maybe this is more like a skinwalker, D, like you were saying. This one at least sounds more like towards the end here, as the story goes on with it trying to climb over the fence and being all human and stuff. Sounds like more like a skinwalker sighting, but there's a lot of crossover between skinwalkers and not deer, because sometimes the not deer will stand up on their hind legs and walk around. Actually, that's one of the original not deer characteristics that they kind of dropped because it's a little bit goofy. But it used to be that they often walk on their hind legs and stuff.
Waited almost 2 hours before we even looked up, and when we did, that thing was gone, and I was.
You are not keeping me hiding on your floorboard in the back of your car or whatever for 2 hours because you're afraid of a deer. I'm not doing that. No. Boy, if you take me on like a date or something and you're like, hey, hide in the back seat, there's a scary deer out there, unless they take me home.
Was able to turn off the van completely. When we got back inside, Stevie wanted to know what the heck happened. So I told her a story from when I was a kid. My story of my first encounter with that.
Let's see. A skinwalker in the daytime, that's a violation of union bylaws. Maybe it's a non-union skinwalker. Non-union skinwalkers exist, especially in the Midwest. Yeah. We call them scabs. This one was apparently covered with scabs, so double scabbed. Let's see. Deer woman is a very real thing in folklore here. Yeah, I know the folklore about deer woman, and I definitely made an effort not to conflate not deer with deer woman, because they're different phenomena altogether, different characters with different meanings and whatnot. A match, the poor Raven King may be Lord of the West, but he's no Queen of the Isle. Hey, Sumami.
Thing. Needless to say, her jaw dropped. She wanted to know so much more, but I told her talking about them is said to give them power. But she went off searching on her own, which is something else I advised against. But of course she didn't listen. We never really talked about it too much after that, and I lost touch with Stevie and moved.
Whew, the hot flash finally passed. Oh my gosh, that was a rough one. That's probably the biggest hot flash I've had since I very, very first started. Yes, that was a rough one. I was like, I don't know if it was burning my system up.
Moved April 2020. Since then, I haven't had anything like this happen again. I have deer friends, but they're real deer this time. It may or may not have been the same entity, but the way it looked at me, I'll never forget. I pray I don't run into it, or another one like it, again. But considering I live by even more woods, it may just happen. And if it does, I'll let you know. They weren't deer. From Davy Cannon Hound. In my city, there is a relatively large nature center, large enough to hold a small herd of deer. One day I was out there taking a walk. I'm a big nature lover, and I sometimes go there to relax. The nature center generally closes at 7 at the latest, and this was in the middle of the summer, so the sun was usually...
I love this deer that's eating the leaves in the snow that they keep showing though. I want this as my new like sleep at the foot of my bed pet. Like so bad. I want to wake up every morning and let my little deer out to eat leaves. It's all I've ever really wanted, now that I think back. I don't know what I was doing with my life before I decided I wanted a pet deer.
Out fairly late. On the way out, I heard a noise. A noise I'd never heard before.
I'm gonna let this play for just a minute, because I went through more of my coffee than I expected. I'm just gonna go top it off. I will be right back. You all enjoy the, what am I do here? Enjoy the new transition screen. All right, thank you. That just I just needed a second to top my coffee off. Yes, a twerking bee, just for you guys. That's what I do. That's how I serve my hive.
It was some sort of cry, high-pitched and warbled. It wavered a little as well, making it worse. Now, generally, I don't get truly scared. It's easy to startle me, sure, but it's hard to actually make me scared. This cry, however, woke up whatever primal instinct is left in us humans. The first thought I had was, I need to get the heck out of here. The second thought was, wait, why? I looked back behind me towards the deeper part of the nature center, where I'd heard it. Of course, I didn't see anything, and I didn't hear anything else. Afterwards, I quickly walked out of the nature center, not wanting to stay in the wooded area any longer. A few days later, I was talking to a friend about what had happened. At first, I don't think he believed me, But there must have been some look in my eyes or something, because he began trying to think of what I could have heard. Screech owls can make some weird noises, and so can raccoons. But it wasn't either of those. While those were creepy, they sounded nothing like what I heard. Eventually, we decided we want to check out the nature center at night. My friend got one of his friends together, and we managed to get inside.
So, when it comes to screaming animals at night, there's a wide variety of animals that you don't think about making noises that are, I mean, obviously everybody, not everybody, most people, realize that a rabbit will scream if it's threatened. But there's a myriad of reptiles and mammals and birds that will make just specific sounds under specific circumstances for specific reasons, right? That they'll only ever make a sound when they're doing this specific thing. Like a good example that people don't know about is tortoises when they mate. When tortoises mate, they make sounds. That's the only time you'll really hear them make too much noise, is when they're mating, and they actually are very vocal. So things like foxes, for instance, make a wide range of sounds that can be quite terrifying if you don't know what you're hearing. Foxes, raccoons also make some bizarre sounds. Bears will make a lot of unique sounds at night. And cervets, deer, all have vocalizations of some kind. So, yeah.
Flashlights and knives in hand, we began walking along the trails. Fairly early on, we saw 5 or 6 deer to one side of us. Not bothered, we continued on deeper. After walking more, we heard something walking on the leaves on the ground.
And the deer cried Mary. Yes, that's golden. Thank you.
Shining our lights through the trees, we saw deer again, around the same number from earlier. We guessed that it was the same herd from before. We decided to stop in place for a bit, to listen for any weird sounds. The deer never moved on, which was odd, and whenever we shined our lights in their area, we could still see their reflective eyes staring back at us. Eventually, we decided to call it and started to head out, when we heard noise from the other side of the path and discovered there was another herd of deer. We found it odd. The nature center was a decent size, but certainly not large enough to hold that many deer. Regardless, we continued. As we went on, we realized the deer were keeping pace with us, as if they were following us.
This sounds like it might be an actual herd of deer that's used to being fed, this story. To me, that's what it sounds like. You guys tell me. Tortoises. I took the kids to a reptile show, and the very first thing inside the door was a pair of tortoises mating. They were very vocal about it, so my kids learned a lot that day. Yes, tortoises can be quite noisy when they're feeling passion.
Stopped, and we watched both herds. I'm not sure what my friend saw, but the deer I was watching were not behaving right. They were moving their heads up and down, from normal height to down where I felt their legs should be.
Remember what we read about the chronic wasting disease earlier in the video, guys, because it's coming back right now, right? If we look at chronic wasting disease and the symptoms, the lowering of the head is one of the ones that they pinpoint.
Occasionally, one of them would take a step or two forward, bobbing its head like a dove or pigeon would. We soon decided we needed to leave and proceeded to head to the exit. The quote-unquote deer continued to follow us at a relaxed pace, as if to constantly remind us of their presence. After exiting and driving away, we discussed what had happened. We all agreed that those things weren't deer, but questioned what else they could be, as the nature center was not large enough for anything but a lone coyote. Getting on Google Maps, I discovered that the nature center...
Why are they not deer? You said that they were deer and they were behaving like deer, like diseased deer. Did you report it?
actually connects to the woods surrounding the Natchez Trace Parkway through a thin strip of wooded area. Something could travel from the Natchez Trace woods to the nature center no problem. After that incident, I haven't been back.
If it's not a herd of deer, it's a giant centipede, huh? Interesting take. You don't want venison from a deer with wasting disease, though. No, native atheist, that sounds like it would probably be a bad idea. What would be more scary, a deer tap dancing or a deer smoking a pipe? Probably a deer tap dancing. If I saw a deer smoking a pipe, I'd probably like smile about it. If I saw a deer tap dancing, I think I'd be a little bit creeped out. Just being completely frank about it.
Creek Crosser from Marin. This story I know for sure is from an older episode, but I remember it being a pretty good one. Enjoy.
Yeah, this is the one that I really picked this video for.
Growing up on a small, mostly self-sustained chicken farm, my family had many animals. We would have anywhere from 50 to 200 chickens on the farm. Our Alaskan Malamute, a barn cat, and a few other more exotic animals as well. Mostly birds, skunks, or young foxes that I would find in the woods and bring home to nurse back to health. My childhood was full of animals, and considering the chickens would be slaughtered about every 2 or 3 years for meat and sale, I was used to seeing death at a young age. A few times our Malamute got loose, and he would attack many of the chickens. Or that's what we thought. I never actually saw him go at more than...
Just so you know the results of the poll for the last stream, the Nature Center... Did this Nature Center deer have CWD? And we said 80% of you all said yes, 20% said no. So that's the results on that. Let's see, isn't every deer tap dancing? Well, every deer's got taps on. Like they're walking, like it'd be like walking around your house in tap shoes, though. It would, which you wouldn't say you were dancing. Like if you go to the fridge to get something to eat, right? You wouldn't like, oh, I danced to the fridge just because you had taps on your shoes. But if you play music in deer dance, I know that like horses can be taught to dance, but I've never seen deer taught to dance. It would be cool, yeah, but it wouldn't be creepy to see them like in that platform, right? To like see trained deer dancing, but to see wild deer dancing, like if I walked out in the woods and there was a herd of deer doing like a flash mob, I wouldn't like stick around to watch, right? That would actually be something that would make me be like, okay, this is probably something I'm not supposed to see. No, I would pull my phone out and record it. Man, yeah, I've had deer run into my vehicle. 2-star song. It's not a fun experience.
One single chicken. The most I saw was the roosters, who we raised for the county fair shows, taunting him, walking into his chained area and pecking him in the face, and running just out of his reach.
I didn't say I never dance to the fridge. I don't always dance to the fridge.
Honestly, I never blamed the big guy for defending himself when he could. But on 3 occasions, I'd come home from school to see my father piling dead chickens on top of one another. Loads of them. And none of them had been attacked in quite the same way that the Malamute did. He would simply snap the neck, but whatever was doing this to the chickens, it left quite the gruesome scene. The animals sometimes tore almost in 2. Not to mention the different breeds were taken care of in different ways. The white-laying hens, who were rather plump and rarely came off their nests, would be missing their heads. The thinner, long-legged Polish, the chickens with the fluffy-looking feathers on their heads, were often nearly completely plucked of their silky plumes. These ones specifically were rarely ever eviscerated, while the rest were. I often helped pick up the dead birds. We slaughtered many for ourselves, and this didn't bother me too much. I never questioned as a young child why our dog would take so many birds like that. As a farm kid, I was told that wolves were bad, and because Malamutes tend to have a large percentage of wolf genetics, it was just his animal DNA kicking in at times. But I didn't believe that, and I could tell that my parents were grasping at straws. It was only in high school, while doing reports for the...
I can actually find plenty of videos of deer eating chicken, right? Of deers eating chickens. A deer will I don't know what species do it the most. I think it's reindeer are the more common ones that eat. Yeah, deer eating birds. Yeah. Here, I'll show you guys real quick, because deer will bend over and chomp down a birdie. Yeah, we'll watch a couple of them. Nom nom.
CD never missed something.
That bird's all up in its face though, so probably because the baby's hopping around on the ground. See the baby hopping? The mom's like, hey, get away from the baby. The deer's gonna chomp chomp. Ooh.
He's got a bird on the ground, Michael. Yeah, there's a bird on the ground. It's hurt.
The little one?
Yeah, he's picking at it. That's why they're beating him up. He's got it in his mouth.
Ow!
He's got the bird in his mouth. Oh my goodness, he ate a bird? Michael, he ate a bird. He ate a bird. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, they will eat
Oh
birds.
my word. They're really going to beat him up now.
They're probably going to give up now. There's no reason to beat him up when the bird's already been eaten.
Oh! What is he eating? That one right there. Is it his tongue sticking out or is it a bird?
It's a
I
bird.
would hope not. No way. Why would he eat a dead bird? They're
It's
not.
a bird.
I thought they're not carnivores.
Well, they still need to get, I mean,
Yeah, that's
lots
a
of
bird.
minerals and nutrients they
It's
can
got
get.
legs and everything. I see it.
Is it alive?
He's looking at. Oh, he just ate the whole freaking deer. He ate the whole bird. Oh, he's spitting it out.
Yeah, because they're ruminants.
Out.
So they used to.
Just fell coming out of his mouth.
Oh!
Did you
Pretty
eat it?
rough. But, yeah, that's nature for you. Yeah, there's lots of them. There's more, plenty more of, but I'm not gonna beat that drum too much. We're just gonna move. Well, here's where I was looking. There we go. All right.
Science teacher. He would have us track various animal sightings throughout the state, and one of them was for deer. I learned a lot of seemingly useless information about deer that month. Their lifespans, mating patterns, size, weight, diet, the whole kebab. But this was when I began to notice that some pieces of the puzzle began to fall together.
Also, mouse deer are not actually deer. They're not. They're the first thing to diverge off are ruminata, so they're not even any more closely related to deer than they are to giraffes or bovids.
Almost every time our chickens were unceremoniously slaughtered was just before hunting season. A few weeks afterward, my father would come home boasting that he saw a large deer out in the woods. He boasted that one day he would have that sucker mounted in the house. I knew exactly what deer he was talking about, one that we nicknamed Oscar. When you've been hearing talk of that large deer in the woods for almost 15 years, and you know that white-tailed deer live for about 4.5 years, you begin to get a little
False. White-tailed deer live from generally in captivity from 6 to 14 years. They live about the same size or the same time as a large dog. They can live, or a goat. Goats have the same type of lifespan, but they live peaking out about around 20 years. Some live a little. Some can live over 20. Usually, when they live over 20 years, it's doe that live that old, because the bucks, as they get older, get into more confrontations and stuff. But because a deer in the wild, like especially in the Midwest, like around where I live, for instance, there's not a lot. Once you get to an adult size, it's going to kill you. The mortality rates for animals are just like humans, are really driven by infant mortality rate, right? So even though adult deer don't have any predators at all in this area besides humans, because we wiped them out. The babies do. The baby deer can be maybe, and a lot of people underestimate how small they are. They're about the size of like a small cat when they're born, or a large rabbit when they're born. A house cat can be a threat to a baby deer. I could show you videos of house cats catching baby deers and baby deers and eating them too. I could pull that up for us here. I won't, because it's a little more disturbing, because they're not very good at killing them, and it's kind of icky and horrid. But foxes, coyotes, there are a lot of potential predators. Birds of prey. There are a lot of potential predators for infant deer and a lot of accidents and exposure and all sorts of things that can happen to an infant in the wild. But once they reach adulthood, just like with the humans, the mortality rate goes way up. If you take mortality rate of a deer from the age of like 4, it's probably going to be 4 to 20, as if you take the mortality rate from 0 to adulthood, the mortality rate's probably going to teeter somewhere around like 8 or 9. So it really depends on the environment.
Skeptical. Anyway, my first encounter with an animal that I actually feared. I was with my childhood best friend. We were about 9 years old, and I wanted to show off the property I'd grown up on. My father had large, deep trails wide enough for his tractor throughout the woods. It was a large, square, 30-acre lot. We had a path following the perimeter of the property, and another crisscrossing the square in half from both directions. There were many other trails as well. Those pine woods were alive with life, and I'd often followed game trails, sometimes nearly 50 acres into the neighbor's property. We walked up behind the barn on the north side of the property, following the main trail to the back of what we owned. I'd read a book which was published on the farm about 20 years before my own family moved in. I was telling her about the property and the previous owners. The two of us were nerds, and this kind of information was our bread and butter. Now, usually I cut the walk in half, walking through one of the crisscrossed sections because, frankly, I'm lazy. But I'm also very proud of my home. I had a slew of new information, so we kept walking on this occasion. The sun was getting farther behind us. We had gotten off the school bus about half an hour before, so we were pretty far in. Now, I've encountered this Oscar before, and knowing this, my mother had warned us not to walk too far into the woods. It was rut season, and the bucks may get territorial. Obviously, we didn't listen. Turning with the square-shaped paths, we began to walk south. That's when I spotted...
Weird, I grew up in the countryside and whitetail country, and I've never been told to watch out for bucks in rut. That's never been something I was warned could be a threat to me. I've seen hunters and stuff get into confrontations with bucks, but I've seen bucks in the wild. I've seen whole herds of deer in the wild while walking in the woods, and never, not any time of year have they ever threatened me or tried to fight with me. Not to say that they don't, that can't happen, but as I'd say that it's probably pretty rare.
One of my favorite game trails. I ushered my friend towards it. I was walking just in front of her then, and she bumped into me. I'd gone quiet for the first time in close to an hour, because I spotted it. A massive deer standing before us. My friend steps out from behind me, confused, then gazes past me at the deer as well. We're both awestruck, silent. We're taking in every detail. The deer was on the main trail. The game trail we followed cut off the southeast corner of the property. But this image of the deer that was before us, it wasn't right. Imagine a deer, copy and paste it into a...
Yeah, coyotes love chicken ember. Good way to protect your chickens from coyotes is with a turkey. A turkey will generally... a big tom will generally drive away predators up to the size of a bobcat or coyote. Much bigger than that, they're not any good. They don't do good against like wolves or cougars or bears or anything. But mid-sized predators, yeah, turkey will protect your chickens from a coyote, from a bobcat. Now, a whole pack of coyotes can kill your turkey, but yeah, the turkey will charge in and take the brunt of it, usually, and at least spare your chickens.
To a document and scale it up 3 times its original size.
You know.
The antlers alone could be either side of the trees blocking us from the creature. I remember the dull thud they made when it bumped them against the trees, as if telling us, "You're lucky the trees are in the way." We stood entirely still before we began running, and I'm ashamed to admit that I felt a need to outrun my best friend. Something primal in me, I guess. We made it back. Windy.
Yeah, you don't have to outrun the not deer, you just have to outrun your friend. Yeah.
Exhausted and terrified, but also excited to see a deer so big. We told my parents we'd see Oscar the deer, not once imagining the possible
Coyotes
outcome
can
to our
actually...
fate. Maybe it was our child.
Coyotes have actually killed people. There was a folk singer up in Canada. They were coy wolves, but still, coyotes will grab kids too. They'll grab children and try to drag them off, which is disturbing. Or little pocket-sized people as well. Are deer kind of dumb or coyotes? Deer are kind of dumb. Like, they're, well, not super dumb. They're kind of dumb though. And they're like goat dumb or sheep dumb.
Childish mind seeing what looked like a deer, but I was soon beginning to believe that Oscar was something else. About a week after this, my father took me hunting. Up I go into a...
Always go hiking with someone you can outrun. They're never fooled by my coyote mask.
A tree stand, holding onto a thick pine, much like the one Oscar had tapped with his horns. This day was cold and foggy.
Yeah, unfortunately, coyotes are quite clever, like foxes. They like to solve problems. They're good at solving problems. They like to. Nobody likes to have to solve problems, but they're good at solving problems.
It was a school day, but I was allowed to stay home, and it was also the only year I'd ever go hunting. As I sat in that stand, mostly trying not to fall asleep, I began to turn to look around, eventually scoping out the...
Coyotes are dumb comparison to wolves, though yeah, probably. I think wolves are probably the smartest extant canine, so yeah, that checks out as far as I'm aware. I haven't heard any studies that would contradict that. Coyotes are scared or terrified of wolves. Yeah, coyotes are definitely more adaptable though, because coyotes can be wolves. Coyotes can fill the wolf niche in their environment, right? They can step up if the wolves are wiped out and actually fill that role to some extent. Obviously, there's limitations on their size, but as they fill that niche through generations, they will get bigger though, and then wolves being reintroduced to the areas will drive those coyote right back into their mesopredator niche, so they can actually fluctuate between those two roles. Not great, but they can. Red foxes can too. Red foxes did that when wolves were wiped out in the UK. They stepped up into that role. But the role of the macro predator in the UK is quite a bit smaller than it is in mainland North America. And the foxes generally, even in the UK, focus on fawns, same as coyotes. Whereas wolves can, they'll take down an adult bull moose with a big enough pack.
The back side of the tree. Some distance behind me, across the path, I saw a large deer. I was excited, ready to tell my father.
Oh, and for sure, nothing's more adaptable than a cat. Who mentioned cats? Jason Jacoby. Cats can adapt to pretty much any environment on the planet. I imagine if we let them, cats could probably carve out a niche in Antarctica living off penguin checks. So yeah, it's definitely within reason. Reintroduce saber-toothed tigers. Yeah, that'll help control the deer population for sure.
That I spotted something, but I quickly fell quiet. The deer had looked up at me, looked directly at me even from that distance, even with the fog. I felt like I was staring point blank into its face as well. But the typical glossy black eyes of a deer were not the eyes that I met, and I was soon wishing to go back home. I started to complain to my father. I made up every excuse to go home and escape, and finally he relented, on one condition. I was to go walk with him up toward the southeast side to look for deer on foot. The sky seemed to crack apart as we descended the ladder, Rain was falling now through the trees around us, the fog mostly dissipating in the warm shower. I went eastward, while he went south of our position. I ended up nearly at the top of the hill, the one I don't like to go near due to my fear of heights. There was a thicket bush there.
Why would your dad send you to the top of the hill if he knows you're afraid of heights? Sounds like your dad's kind of a dick. Get a better dad. Your dad is like, did you say, hey dad, I'm afraid of heights, and they don't send you up high? What is he trying to teach you, a lesson? Oh.
It was partly stamped down already, and curious. I poked my head inside and found a young fawn. It was maybe a few days old. I didn't want to disturb it in fear of its mother maybe abandoning it, so I rose up. And as I did, I found myself staring directly at a doe, its mother. She was snorting and stomping in agitation, and instead of charging or trying to push me away, she instead stopped. Her ears went on high alert, then she simply crawled into the thicket, hiding.
Sandy, I'm glad they give us something to look at. That's why I picked this one. All the other ones just literally had a still image of a zombie deer. They didn't have anything more, so I found one that had actual footage of deer at least.
With her fawn. Then I heard the sound of a branch snapping. A branch, not a stick on the ground. It sounded like it had come from somewhere behind me. I walked forward slowly. I could see my father's fluorescent orange cap in the distance. I was stiff as a board when I finally got near him. These woods were beginning to turn sinister. Thankfully, my father was giving up on the day because of the rain and didn't ask me any questions. Apparently, he assumed I was just cold.
You would let your kitties eat penguin chicks if there was no other food source. And I bet you'd be eating seals if you lived in Antarctica and didn't have any other food source besides the natural fauna. See Sumami out there hunting seals with her cats. That's actually something I'm going to make an AI now. Sumami hunting seals in Antarctica. So look forward to that.
That's why I was shaking like a leaf. Later that day, after returning home, my father would come back home after going out again, saying that he saw Oscar walking across.
Dr. Mordecai, you know the rules. When Bugbot stings you, you have to send it to sting somebody else. That's how we pay it forward.
Across the street, toward the nearby river. Only at that section, it was more like a sandy creek. That was behind our neighbor's house, and oddly enough, to make things worse, the sweet older widow who lived there that I often visited with to birdwatch turned up dead of a heart attack later that same week. Right after her passing, all the sightings of Oscar the deer had died down for nearly 10 more years. Within that time, I began to forget about the weird happenings in the forest and on our property. I had made a friend from across the world who I would video chat with often, and using my phone, I decided one day I'd take a walk with my dog so that I could record the property for her. As I left the house, I went out the back door to show off the large open lawn. I walk across the path, which cuts into the middle of the woods, and I go deeper. As I get near the back end, my dog begins to walk closer to me. I keep going in, despite my dog obviously getting a bit scared, which was completely unlike him. Soon it began to rain, so I decided to turn back toward the house. I didn't want my new phone to get wet. It was my only source of communication with my new foreign friend. I begin to slow down about halfway back, and that's when I begin to hear branches breaking behind me. I turn just so I can show my friend what the sound was. I turn the camera back to the trail, and there's a small oak tree fallen on the path about 50 yards in front of me. A tree that had not been lying there before, nor did I hear it fall and make a sound. Again, all I had heard were branches snapping, so this was quite strange. I look at my dog, who was happily panting now, probably excited to get back home. With that, I decide I'm just being paranoid. I continue to walk back, when I suddenly hear a high-pitched, pitiful screech from the direction of our home. If you've ever heard a rabbit scream, it's horrifying. At first, I didn't know what it was, and I began to run towards it.
I have heard a rabbit scream. It is very horrifying. Self-erasing memories is a sign of Fae encounters. So are you saying that not deer might be Fae? Interesting. Yeah, some of the Fae are definitely Servant adjacent. They have, antlers and stuff. A lot of them do.
As I get to the house, I find...
Even their king, Kurnos, has antlers, right? Kurnos has antlers. Matter of fact, the Kur from his name is the same as for the Servants.
My rabbit, dead. He's still warm, though.
You can say Cernanos, too, but I believe the proper pronunciation for that and the in the native tongue as Curanos, but I always grew up calling it Ceranos because of cervids.
There are no footprints in the soft earth, though there should have been. Every part of me was screaming not to stay outside, so I grabbed my perished friend, and I took him inside, only to get him a fleece blanket to wrap him in. I bury him, but I made sure to keep my dog inside while I did. When I was done, I stood up tall. I was on the edge of the woods near the base of our large evergreen pine tree. My eyes were locked in the trees nearby. I then threw the shovel to the ground and shouted at the top of my lungs that this was my home, and whatever was doing this was not.
Baby doll, sweetie pie. You live in the woods. There's predators that eat rabbits, and eat chickens, and all kinds of stuff. Doesn't matter if it's your home or not. It doesn't matter. This is the forest. The animals aren't doing anything on your property. Your property is in their home. So, yeah, if you don't want to deal with wildlife, don't buy property in the woods.
Welcome. At that point in time, the farm was running low on chickens. All that was really left was a muscovy duck who was nearly 7 years old. I can say honestly, he's still alive somehow. My parents were forced to join the workforce, so it was quieter around here anymore. More sad. I grabbed the shovel and turned. From this view of the farm, the barn is to my right. There is a large red shed in front of me, just off to the right as well.
Did you say the Muscovy duck was 70 years old? Or 17 years old? I didn't quite catch it. Because 70 years way older than any duck that I know of lives. Generally, ducks live 20, 25 years.
A white shed blocks out most of the view of the red one.
And yes,
the house is to my left.
Yes, I know Muscovy ducks aren't like related to the regular domestic ducks, and they're their own thing, but they still have a very similar lifespan.
The road was in my sight, and many trees were sheltered in the large yard toward the west side. Standing in the road, hidden partially by some tree branches, I saw a deer who was the same size and even the same shape as Oscar. It was facing towards me, watching me. I held my ground, still angry at what it did to my rabbit.
That's kind of how genetics work. I would expect if Oscar was the big buck that lived in the area and that was his territory, that the deer who come hither forth would be of his descent.
Rabbit. It must have lost interest, because it looked away from me, and it began to cross the road. But as it did, I finally got a good look at the thing. The creature was massive, but its body was torn, bones showing, and its head was more skull than flesh. I forgot to breathe as I looked at it. When it was gone out of sight, I struggled to breathe again. I went inside,
like wasting disease.
Not even feeling safe in my own home. The next day, I would take my dog for a walk, trying to calm down. I was approaching the river that ran parallel to the road, and as I did, the dog began to freak out. I looked up, and down the hill from us, there it stood, knee-deep in the river. I didn't react out of fear. My dog couldn't either. I scooped him up, all 20 pounds of him, and I began to quietly walk back the way we came. By the time I get over a large hill in the road, he calms down, and I'm able to set him down again. I wonder to myself why that thing keeps crossing the road, why it keeps letting itself be seen, but often just barely. I haven't seen it in some time, and I moved out after a while. Maybe it's waiting, maybe it's done with our land, because everything there is dead. I don't know, but that creature made our property a living hell.
All right. So that's not deer. What do you all think? I just started a little poll for you guys about not deer. You can tell me what you think about it. Now this channel, again, it's just a storyteller channel, is Darkness Prevails. Stories of the unexplained and terrifying from everyday folk all over the world. So that's who we visited today and watched some of their videos. We may revisit this again, huh? Yeah, I do agree with Sandy. There was a lot of repetitive loops, or that repetitive loop of the video was a bit repetitive. But it is what it is. It wasn't that bad. At least it was of cute animals and not like bad art or something like that, which is what I was finding a lot of when I was looking elsewhere. Anyway, that's gonna conclude Cryptic Corner for today. So thank you so much for sticking with me, and please remember to be kind and take care, and we will see you next time. All right, live from the Hive audience. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Thank you, Jason Jacoby, for telling that. We got more show to come. This is just the first segment of a multi-segmented show. And up next, you're going to hear me rant and rave about more animal myths. It's not deer related, this time, but it is going to be about crocodiles. That'll be our hint, and I will see you guys. I'll see you guys over there. All right, my beauties and bees. Who is ready for some sci fails? And thank you. Yeah, I'm mesmerized by my beads too. I actually have a couple of chains on. I decided to only wear one though. Today I have a whole bunch of beads. I love beads. They're my fidgets. I like playing with them. Good to see everybody. Thank you so much for sticking around. This is the Live from the Hive installment called Sci Fails, where we find a popular myth, whether about animals, medicine, anything to do with science, and we debunk it. Whether it's bad medical takes like windmill cancer, or videos about the deadliest animals to live in with dinosaurs, and they give all kinds of bad information. That's the kind of stuff we generally tackle here. But today, I decided to go a different direction. Today, I'm just going to watch a video about a little bird. Y'all like little birds? Yeah, me too. Let's watch it.
As it will willingly. This tiny little bird is called the Egyptian plover bird, and it's one of the most courageous birds alive, as it will willingly fly into a crocodile's
Y'all ever seen a plover bird fly into a crocodile's mouth?
mouth. But for what reason, and what's stopping the crocodile from eating it, you might ask? Well, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about in today's video. As usual, before we get started, we must first get a little familiar with the animal in question to know exactly what we're talking about. Let's get right to it.
So cute, aren't they? Again, with their little stilty
The
legs.
Egyptian plover is a beautiful little bird that is relatively easy to spot, as the 19 to 21 centimeter long adult has a black crown, black eye mask, and a breastband. The rest of the head is white, and the remaining upper part plumage is blue-gray, and the underparts are orange. Pretty colorful, right? For the most part, plovers are carnivores, and they mostly feed on insects. Worms, mollusks, aquatic insects.
We're gonna focus on the
adults.
We're gonna focus on the Egyptian plover for this one, though.
And larvae, small flies, seeds, and particles of scavenged fish as well. And although some of these birds live in different habitats, most species are shorebirds. They live along beaches, sand dunes, estuaries, tide pools, and more. Some species also inhabit farms, particularly flooded pastures or lakes.
And they're usually basically omnivorous scavengers. And again, thank you again for the super chat, Ember. Love you so much, sweetie.
Ponds, and they
super chats are still working, right? Will you guys check them for me? I know Embers came through, but I wonder if they're working sometimes. I'm just teasing you guys. Give me money.
have a lifespan of around 5 to 6 years. But enough about the plover's characteristics. Let's get to their weird relationship with crocodiles and why they are called crocodile birds. To dissipate heat, crocodiles will bask on the banks of rivers and swamps with their mouths.
You see those pictures of the plovers in the crocodile's mouth? That's crazy. They were like right and standing in the crocodile's mouth.
Open, and that's when the plovers come along. The birds recognize the invitation and, using their sharp little beaks like a toothpick, they remove the bits of meat from...
Again, they climb right inside. That one's literally hanging from the roof of the crocodile's mouth, picking meat from its teeth. Freaking amazing. Look at these guys all down here. There's a whole bunch of them. This crocodile has a whole flock of birds in its mouth, and it's just chilling.
Between the crocodile's teeth. This feeds the plover and removes parasites from the croc's mouth. They have a cleaning, symbiotic relationship with the crocodiles.
Symbiotic relationship. That's where two animals like mutually benefit from each other. The plovers get the food, and the crocodiles get its teeth cleaned, right?
Where they fly into their mouths and clean their teeth for them. And as you've probably already guessed, the name crocodile bird is derived from the plover's frequent association with crocodiles. The Nile crocodile, to be specific. So yeah, that is why plovers seem to live on easy mode and why they're treated so kindly by crocodiles to not get eaten by them. Not because plovers are poisonous, which is a big misconception that people have about plovers because of the spurs on their wings.
Yeah, they're not poisonous. Thank you, Maya. You're
The
so,
plovers
so
provide
sweet.
crocodiles with greatly needed dentistry. That is why they're
Do crocodiles need dentistry? Are they in great need of dental assistance to maintain their teeth? Now that's an interesting claim.
so friendly to them because they benefit from them. In this relationship, both animals live in peace because they are getting something out of the relationship. The crocodiles get their teeth cleaned, and the plovers get a quick meal, and everybody wins. There are a few other animals that have similar relationships to the crocs and the plovers in the animal kingdom. For example, hippos will usually let eager fish and birds clean their teeth for them. Wouldn't it be nice if all relationships between animals and between humans even were that peaceful and beneficial for all parties involved? I bet it would be. But anyway, we've reached the end of today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Peace out. Did you enjoy this video? Please let us know in the comment section down below.
Right?
And don't forget to leave us a like.
Super neat. All right, and then there's this gentleman right here. Really wants to push. He ties like religious into it, though. Really wants
Two really brainy words to you: mutualism and symbiosis. You say, what in the world do those words mean? Well, stay with me and I'll explain it to you in just a moment. Symbiosis is a mutually beneficial relationship that exists between different people, different groups. It's a relationship that is marked by persistence and is absolutely necessary for survival. Mutualism, though, operates while with the same principle on a different basis. That is to say, it's not persistent and does not present an immediate need that is vital for survival. Now, both concepts exist in natural order.
I'm sure Maya could get her own little harem of subs. I don't imagine that would be any problem for Miss Atkinson. As I've seen Maya in person, I will promise you she's just as gorgeous in real life, and would have no problem building her own little harem.
But from where do these practices originate? I think that's a fundamental question.
Ooh,
evolution says they are the outcome of chance. They are the product of random processes developed
random.
and
Evolution,
adapted,
random
tweaked
as
as you would, down through the thousands.
Evolution being random. There's no they don't make choices. There's no what's the word I'm looking for? Like when you select something, evolution. It's like when you select something. It's like when things in nature when they select stuff instead of it being random and just being whatever. Instead there's selection being made. It just happens naturally. I can't think of the word. If you know what the word I'm talking about is, put it in the comments.
In millions of years. Conversely, creationism teaches it's by design. That is to say, mutualism and symbiosis are intentional, deliberately designed for a specific function. Now, what's undeniable is this. Every
God designed that plover to pick that crocodile's teeth.
creature in the universe demonstrates particular characteristics that communicate intentional design. Dozens of animals, plants, and organisms involved in mutualism and symbiosis reflect.
That last guy was not mutualism or symbiosis, but parasitoidism, or no, it was parasitism. Parasitoidism is if it laid its eggs on it. Different characteristics. But if you saw, that's a tick on the end. That's not mutualism or symbiosis. At least not. It's parasite. The thing that the tick's feeding on doesn't benefit in any way from the tick. So it's not symbiosis. Symbiosis and mutualism both have to benefit.
Organisms involved in mutualism and symbiosis reflect distinct complexities biologically, and yet they survive through simple actions and bizarre instinctual behaviors. Now, what makes this fact all the more extraordinary is the deep irony that characterizes these relationships. Take, for example, the relationship shared by the Egyptian plover bird and the Nile crocodile.
We will in just a second, but I want to talk about mutualism for just a minute for my audience. So thank you so much for giving me the floor for just a moment here while I explain that a lot of mutualism is literally animals co-evolving together, right? That they literally for millions of years have lived side by side in the same environment, and through mutualism, which is what that literally means, they have managed to survive and benefit from one another's characteristics that they don't have. There's a crab, for instance, that has anemones that it wears on its fist as like boxing gloves. It has stinging anemone boxing gloves living mutually on its body. And the anemone gets the food when the crab eats that floats around when the crabs, because crabs are messy eaters. They have lots of scraps that float through the water, and anemones are filter feeders. So mutually beneficial. That's a good example of mutualism.
It's one, though, that sustains both their lives. Sub-Saharan Africa's largest crocodilian is a ruthless monster that grows in length sometimes.
It's not a monster. It's just an animal, buddy. Let's mellow it out. Look at you there. Crikey. You're beautiful. Let's think that way instead of horrid monsters of the Nile. Let's go.
Exceeding 20 feet. It can weigh up to 2,400 pounds, and it's discovered in 26 countries. It is considered an apex
found in 26 countries
hunter. It is categorized as a generalist. That means it's not picky when it comes to its cuisine.
That's not a Nile crocodile either there.
Its diet consists primarily of fish.
The last video had lots of pictures and stuff that and videos and stuff that don't fit into the plover
fish, but it will at times eat zebras, small hippos, birds, porcupines, and even other crocs. These monsters are extremely patient.
Yeah, I think that was a Chinese alligator, Sumami, because of its short snoot. I'm pretty sure it was a Chinese alligator in captivity, nonetheless.
Lying in wait for hours, sometimes for days. Others have even been identified as waiting for weeks. Just
giant reptiles, giant macro-predatory reptiles are like that. They're awesome. They could eat a meal, a good meal, and they can go like chill for like 6 months without eating. like if a python catches a pig, right? It'll be good to go for it. Sometimes they can go years without eating if they get a big meal that keeps them going that long. And sometimes they'll go weeks without moving. Crocodiles are the same. Alligators can go into a torpor state that's like hibernation for weeks and weeks on end.
For their prey to encroach. They practice ambushing their victims that trespass on their territory. And all that's necessary is one bite, as those cone-shaped teeth submerge into the flesh, and the powerful bite is so strong, there is no extricating oneself or getting loose once in the snare of the crocodile.
And you're going to go right into that death roll anyway. Just, you're done. You're done, baby girl. You're clocking out. You're done.
They lurk deliberately on the land, in the water, waiting for those unsuspecting
alligator
and unknowing animals to encroach.
Sumami, now you got me doing it. I was like, I'm just gonna be cool with it, but now you got me like, oh, that's alligator. That's crap. Yes, I will. As long as he shows a crocodile, I won't say anything. But every time he shows an alligator, I will say something. Okay, I will do that. Alligator.
Encroach on their territory. These vicious reptiles so are man-eaters, devouring and...
Actually, that might have been a caiman. Looking at those spikes on its eyes, that might have been the horns above its eyes. I think that might have been a caiman.
Savoring human...
Which is also an alligatoroid. So I will... Caiman and alligator in one group, crocodiles in another. And then, of course, there's the gharials and false gharials, which are the other gharials. They're not really false. Nothing false about them. They're gharials.
Flesh. It's estimated that 200 people die every year masticated in the gripping jaws.
it's funny because crocodiles can't actually masticate, right? And that's why they death roll, because they can't masticate.
Nile croc. Now comes the mystery. Despite the deadly nature of these crocodiles, we discover that they have a relationship.
There's our hero of the day, the
Egyptian
plover
bird. They share this symbiotic relationship
Slay Queen
that allows both of them to survive. The croc opens its mouth, allowing
That is not a croc. Who knows what that is? I won't say it. Put it in the comments if you know what this is. And I'll accept either one. You don't have to know specifically the species, just which group it's in.
Bird to enter, keeping its mouth open long enough for the bird to gently pull the food particles and pick away the decaying bacteria from inside the mouth of the crocodile.
We actually keep Sumami in Florida to help keep the Florida men under control. She sometimes has to pull her sword out and take care of some business. But, pythons, parrots, monkeys, iguanas all over the state now. Yeah, I heard there's even tegu and stuff too.
The plover utilizes its beak for the purpose of removing these.
Good job, Jason Jacoby. I'll accept that answer. That is the right answer.
Parasites, leeches, and worms, and the residue that is found left from the food that infested the crocodile's mouth.
So, wait, I missed something there.
Both animals benefit. Food, leeches, and worms. Utilizes its beak for the purpose of removing these parasites, leeches, and worms, and the residue that is found left from the food that infested the crocodile's mouth.
Neat.
Both animals.
So, the plover, what he's telling us is the plover gets into the crocodile's mouth. When we saw the pictures and images, it's picking out leeches and worms and stuff too.
Benefit. The plover appreciates a ready-made meal that provides a source of nourishment, and the crocodile receives dental care, valuable for teeth cleaning, which promotes
crocodiles being in great need of dental care as they are. Yeah.
Mental health, diminishing the possibility of disease and premature death. How is this symbiotic relationship possible? Is such an arrangement really the product of evolution? A collaboration of chance?
It's not.
Or is this interaction so unusual and yet so valuable, it could only be orchestrated by some sort of intelligent source? Did the crocodile simply one day forgo its basic instinct and allow the bird to go hopping around through its mouth instead of chomping down on it for a quick snack? Such a sophisticated relationship among these diverse creatures. It functions as, to me, some of the most telling signposts of
creation is what I'm guessing we're going to say here. That this bird feeding on the particles in the crocodile's teeth, proof of intelligent design.
Pre-planning and programming. These are questions to think about, and perhaps the answers will give you a reason to believe.
All right, neat story, bro, but unfortunately, unfortunately for you, my friend, the Egyptian plover bird, the bird that we've been talking about this whole time, it doesn't exist. I'm sorry. There's no bird that eats out of a crocodile's mouth. It's not a thing that actually happens in reality, right? There's never been documented. Not a single photograph, not a single video, not a single account by an actual naturalist researcher. The story comes actually from Herodotus, who is also known as the father of lies because of his nicknames about his exploits in Africa, in Egypt specifically. That he talked about the Egyptian plover. During his travels in Egypt in 459 BC, the Greek historian Herodotus recorded a fascinating observation. A small bird, which he identified as the Egyptian plover, engaging in what appeared to be a symbiotic interaction with crocodiles. According to Herodotus, the bird was seen picking out food from the open mouth of a crocodile, a behavior presumed to be mutualistically beneficial. The crocodile would receive a thorough cleaning of its teeth while the bird enjoyed an effortless meal. However, the reliability of this account has been subject to debate. Herodotus, known as the world's first historian, was also nicknamed the father of lies, suggesting that some of his observations might have been exaggerated or misinterpreted. The myth of the crocodile bird was later revived. Where was I at? I lost my spot here. Was later revived by explorers and naturalists in the 19th and 20th century, with personal eyewitness accounts from German zoologists and bird watchers. Yet these accounts have been widely disputed and lack substantial corroborative evidence. Let's see. Just reading my comments real quick. I saw that one coming. Yeah, did ya? Every source for Herodotus, I made it up. You guys, you're killing me. In fact, there's no definitive scientific record of cleaning symbiotic relationships between any crocodilian species and any bird species. This absence of evidence casts doubt on the validity of the Egyptian plover's role as the crocodile bird. Despite the questionable authenticity of its behavior, the moniker crocodile bird undeniably adds an aura of intrigue and mystique to the Egyptian plover. It's a nickname that captures the imagination, painting a picture of a fearless bird daring to dance with one of nature's most formidable reptiles. Despite the questionable background, the nickname crocodile bird does make the Egyptian plover sound cool, don't you think? Anyhow, so now you're probably like, hey Bree, what the hell? You just showed us videos and clips and photos of the plover eating from a crocodile's mouth. What the are you talking about? What the hell are you talking about? Okay, so let's look. We'll go through them. We'll go through them, baby girl. Babies, almost said baby girls. You're not all girls. Some of y'all are boys. Baby girls and boys and all my beauties and bees. We're going to go through them and look at them. So, all right, let's start here. Photoshop, right? Obviously. Lighting, color, everything. Photoshop. All right. And what else do we got? Photoshop. More Photoshop. Also not a crocodile or a plover, but regardless, Photoshop. What else do we have here? Here's our birdie. All right, we're going to hop back to this one. And you notice that a lot of these is just the birds running around the beach, right? It's not even anything to do with the crocodile. Of course, we'll come back to that in a second. Here's our Photoshop right there. This is an actual video, nothing to do with the plover though. And more Photoshop. We'll come back to that in a second. That's real. That actually happens. All right. So then we're left with this, right?
The birds recognize.
Then we're left with this video. Neat. Very convincing that plovers are feeding from the mouth of a crocodile, right? Very convincing. Yeah, very convincing for the budget of a Thailand gum company.
จระเข้มีวิธีทำความสะอาดฟันอย่างชาญฉลาดมันยอมให้นกครอกไคไดเบิร์ดเข้าไปจิกเศษอาหารตามซอกฟันโดยไม่ทำอันตรายและนี่คือน้องแจ็คผู้มีเศษอาหารเต็มฟันมาดูซิว่านกครอกไคไดเบิร์ดจะสนไหม
Dentineไว้ดีกว่า. It's a good commercial, but you know, not real. That's not real. It's not a real thing. So the identity of the trunculus will always remain a mystery because it's never been found. Yeah, we do attribute it to the plover, but no. Despite old medieval drawings and paintings and such, the crocodile bird that has the habit of crawling into the mouth of reptiles to clean their teeth is not a thing. Crocodiles do not need a dentist. Crocodiles have no need to have anything inside their mouth cleaning their teeth at all. They're just like any other reptiles. In most other species, I can't think of any species other than humans that specifically requires another species to clean their teeth. There are several species that do exhibit mutualism, but these two are not them. All right, so that was a short one for Sci-Fails today, but I think I got my point across. You know, a lot of this stuff that you see on the internet, it's not real. Okay? I wanted to make sure I left the opening of the video open for you guys to see it from the perspective of the guy. Who was the guy? Billy Anger, who was our host of the Creationist video. I want you to be able to see the bird from his perspective as an actual example of mutualism before I burst the bubble on that. So thank you for playing along with me. I don't know if I tricked any of you all into believing this was real or not, but there are dozens of videos promoting the idea that the Egyptian plover and the crocodile have a mutualistic relationship, but it's just not true. It's never been documented in real life. All the pictures you ever see, the videos you ever see of the crocodiles with the birds in their mouth are fake. They are fabrications, not a thing that happens in nature. The videos with the alligators with butterflies on them are real. If that makes you feel better. We all make mistakes. We all get tricked. So, yeah, I'm going to see you guys over. Well, actually, let me close out this real quick. So yeah, that was our Sci-Fails for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Did I get you? I got you. I got Mike. Woo! That was my goal for the day, was to get Mike. I feel like I won. All right, I will see you guys around. So please remember to be kind, take care, and we will see you next time. All right, beauties and bees, don't go anywhere. More show to come. I promise more show to come. At least a half an hour more of show to come. The show runs from 9:30 to noon. Sometimes goes over till about 12:30. Sometimes, not always, but we'll see what happens today. I will see you guys over in Breeze Bestiary.
This legend raises a lovely problem. How does it come about that the face of a warrior is cut on the carapace of a Japanese crab? How could it be? The answer seems to be that humans made this face. But how? Like many other features, the patterns on the back or carapace of this crab are inherited. But among crabs, as among humans, there are many different hereditary lines. Now, suppose purely by chance, among the distant ancestors of this crab, there came to be one which looked just a little bit like a human face. Long before the battle, fishermen may have been reluctant to eat a crab with a human face. In throwing it back into the sea, they were setting into motion a process of selection. If you're a crab and your carapace is just ordinary, the humans are going to eat you. But if it looks a little bit like a face, they'll throw you back and you'll be able to have lots of nice little baby crabs that all look just like you. As many generations passed of crabs and fisher folk alike, the crabs with patterns that look most like a samurai face preferentially survived. Until eventually, there was produced not just a human face, not just a Japanese face, but the face of a samurai warrior. All this has nothing to do with what the crabs might want. Selection is imposed from the outside. The more you look like a samurai, the better your chances of survival. Eventually, there are a lot of crabs that look like samurai warriors.
All right. Welcome to the part of the show where we do Breeze Beast Theory, where I just talk about one of my favorite animals, and some if any folklore around them and such. So, yeah, please sit back and enjoy the ride, because today we are looking at one of my absolute favorite animals. Let's see. When it comes to the UK, there's not a lot of big predators, right? Like we've talked about actually on this show today when we were talking about the deer predation. Red foxes are the biggest predator in the UK right now. But that's not always been the case. In the past, there were, depending on how far back you go, there were bears. There were bears. There were wolves. And there were lynx, right? But today, the biggest predator is the red fox. But it's not the only predator. There are also martens. There are also the Scottish wildcats. And the Scottish wildcat's almost extinct, right? Because they are so infertile with domestic cats. So domestic cats aren't related directly. They aren't the ancestors of, or their ancestors aren't the European wildcats, including the Scottish wildcat. The Scottish wildcat is a subspecies of European wildcat, Felis sylvestris, a specific species, and the biggest species of wildcat, the biggest species, the biggest clade of Felis, which is the clade that house cats belong into, the genus that house cats are in. Now, house cats descend from African wildcats, Felis libica. You think about Egyptian cats and things like that. Just to give you the kind of a framework for that. But they're very interfertile. They're in the same genus, so they're very interfertile with European wildcats, including the Scottish wildcat. So, European wildcats in general are in decline. And finding actual pure wildcats today is very rare. They all have some degree of domestic cat ancestry. Except for far reaches of Scotland, where there exists a tiny population of pure Scottish wildcats. And we're trying to save them and bring them back. And I would like to take just a moment to share a video about that effort with you guys today.
Threatened mammal, and in today's video, the Scottish wildcat is the UK's most threatened mammal, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at its past, its present, and now, thanks to some brilliant work, its future here in the UK. Diving into what threatened them in the past, what threatens them now, and how this crucial work is being undertaken to ensure the Highland tiger lives on. My name is Rob and this is Live Curious, and here
and also another reason why I covered this video, I like Rob. Rob's adorable. Yeah, so Highland tiger, that's one of the nicknames for him too. There was a bit a while back I covered the Kellis cat on CryptoCorner, which is kind of a mythical cat, but it's based around this hybrid between these tuxedo cats and Scottish wildcats that goes way back. It's a what they called back then, they would have called it a land race. Right now we would call it maybe a unrecognized breed. An unrecognized wild breed probably is what we would refer to it as, or even a color morph could be referred to as.
Here we create content about rewilding in the UK. So if that's something that you like the sound of, hit like and subscribe.
I am into rewilding. Are you into rewilding?
Do not confuse the Scottish wildcat as a domestic cat gone feral. They are very much their own species. They can be twice the size and way more ferocious. Like seriously, just look at that face. So it was thought that around 10,000 years ago...
Yeah, generally you think of a wildcat as somewhere between the size of a large domestic cat and a bobcat. Somewhere in that range between those two. So they're a little bit smaller than a bobcat. They do fill the same niche as a bobcat. Just the UK is small, again, smaller than North America. Think the same relation from the giant red foxes of the UK to the coyotes in North America. Same correlation, size of the land mass that they exist on is correlated directly to the maximum size of the carnivore, especially when the land mass has been extirpated of all its large herbivores. So there's only the biggest predators would be mesopredators at that point, or mesopredators, depending on how you want to pronounce it. I don't care which way you prefer, meso. Like a large Maine Coon, yes. Actually about the same size as a Maine Coon, right?
After the last ice age, when sea levels rose, a population of European wildcats were isolated to the British Isles. And
there's actually genetic research being done that Maine Coons are descendant from another very large group at the same latitude of Norwegian wildcats that Maine Coons have, because there's the Norwegian forest cat is another giant species of domestic cats that the Maine Coon is believed to be related to, and those forest cats have European wildcat ancestry as well, according to the most recent genetic studies on the cats. I could be wrong about that. Cats are really plastic and really mixed together a lot, so it's hard to track their gene pool, but cats and other domestic animals are also the ones that are being mapped first as we move through mapping the genetics of all the species on the face of the earth. So, yeah.
Subsequently evolved into the Scottish wildcat with its distinct black and brown stripes over its thick, water-resistant coat. And of course their banded, tufty, blunt-ended tail and piercing eyes. And for the last several thousand years, the wildcat would have roamed much of the UK, which would have looked far different to how we see it now. It would have been far less managed, and there would have been way more trees.
It would have been heavily forested. The UK, up until the medieval period, was heavily forested. It was, or should I say medieval period? Let's say up until the Roman period. It was still more heavily forested during the medieval period than it is now, but I don't think it had, by the Roman period, they had really started to tear those forests down. But the UK, when, like Treebeard used to say about in Lord of the Rings, a squirrel could pass from London to Scotland without touching the ground. There were so many trees, but
But what is left of the depleted population of wildcats can be found in Scotland. And if you're lucky enough to spot one in the wild, you'll not only be struck by the black and brown bands on their fur, but also 3 distinct stripes on either side of their face. And no doubt, if you get close enough, you'd get a display of their teeth. They have long canines, which are designed to be the perfect spine-sized gap for making quick kills.
They're specialized in hunting birds, rodents, and lagomorphs, which are rabbits and hares. So, but they are not above taking down deer. Wildcats, European wildcats are large enough to take down, usually fawns, but yeah.
And the teeth further back in their mouth are crisscrossed. This enables them to rip through and eat raw meat. They are extremely adaptable hunters. This behaviour evolved from the compounding fragmentation and loss of woodland across the UK. Surviving almost exclusively upon meat, eating an array of different prey from all types of small mammals, woodland game birds, lizards, insects and carrion. With some livestock farmers...
Yeah, well, I know my 2 black cats' genetics. Lots of other black cats. I bet they do. I bet they have lots of other colors as well in their gene pool, though. I bet they could produce a lot of, maybe a variety of different tabby patterns, both yellow and gray, maybe. I know that when they have in cats and domestic cats, that gene is like flipped, the black gene is just permanently flipped on, so it's always. It's like a dominant trait to have black fur. I don't think it's true melanism though. I don't think it's true melanism. I think it's what the king cheetahs have. What's that called? Someone look that up for me. I'm being lazy right now because I'm getting to the end of the show and I'm starting to get tired.
There's even saying that they get the odd sheep. They're unafraid of water, being known to swim across rivers in their territories, which can range from anything from 1 to 2 square miles all the way up to 40 square miles. And for the most part, they are solitary, aggressive animals, with the male and females only overlapping territories during the breeding season. And it's during this time that the female may let out a wail to gain the attention of males, but for the most part, they are an extremely quiet species, with kittens even playing in complete silence so not to attach the attention of predators. The mother will care ferociously for her young. They are an extremely unique and independent form.
There used to be this really cool story that I used to read from this groundskeeper about a mother Scottish wildcat attacking its kitten was attacked by a golden eagle, and he kind of like recounted the story in like dramatic fashion. I'd love to get one of my Scottish friends to read it for me, like do a reading of it. That'd be so cool.
Force of nature that is just both fierce and mysterious in equal measure. And when you consider just how nature depleted the UK is, we are extremely lucky to have an animal like the Scottish wildcat. But what's happening? Why are they the most threatened mammal in the UK today? Well, the first and still ongoing threat is habitat loss. Although they're well adapted to multi-habitat territory, the level of fragmentation and urban sprawl meant that by around the late 1880s, the wildcat would have been completely pushed out of England and Wales to the further reaches of Scotland. The increased intensity of hunting during the Victorian era also spelled trouble. However, over the last century, as the world wars and
because they were a threat to bird livestock, mostly chickens and other fowl that people had in English countryside around this time.
Now, aftermath took the attention of the UK, and as reforestation
and lambs, because lambs, like deer, are on the menu.
Programs slowly increased woodland cover, the wildcat's territories marginally increased. And this gave them the ability to disperse and come into contact with the most serious threat which faces the wildcat today, domestic cats. It's actually the inbreeding with domestic cats that threatens the wildcat, because every time a fertile hybrid is produced, which then dilutes the defining traits and characteristics and behaviours of the Scottish wildcat. And this threat from fertile hybrids was first acknowledged as a quite serious issue during the late 1970s and 80s, and then it was research that was conducted throughout the 90s that found just how dire the situation was for the wildcat due to these fertile hybrids, and it concluded that they were on the brink of it.
Which is like the problem with wildcats everywhere. Anything that's in Felis, right, is going to have that same issue. They're going to run into that same problem, that they are infertile with Felis libica, and it allows them to spread Felis. If I had to say any species followed us as closely genetically in the way we spread, it's Felis libica. that really mimics the way that humans spread. I know we dogs, but dogs are so weird. Dogs are so weird, unique in the way that their phenotypes are plastic. Cats' phenotypes are not as plastic as a dog's. You can't morph a cat around like you can with dog genes. The closest thing I can think of to a dog in plasticity of its genome is like pigs. Pigs you can get really wild and get all kinds of different shapes as well. But yeah, but other than pigs and dogs, I can't think of any other megafauna that's plastic like that. Now you want to get into smaller fauna and hybrids. There's a lot to talk about, but when it comes to megafauna and being plastic with mixing different gene groups and things together, Yeah, there's pigs and dogs are just top notch, just weird.
Extinction. Studies were carried out from 2009 to 2012 in an area of the Cairngorms where some sightings of some wildcats with distinct markings were made. As you see, one of the biggest distinguishing factors between a true Scottish wildcat and the fertile hybrid are its markings on its fur and its general appearance. Hybrids will generally be smaller, more slender, but also the striped black and brown bands on the body and tail.
There it is. It's a recessive gene mutation that flips on a dominant trait. That's what the melanism is. So, thank you, Sumami. It's not quite leucism, but that put me on the right track. Thank you. It's like inverted leucism. As leucism is to albinism, this is to melanism. If you get what I mean, yeah.
Even face, they'll be broken and less distinctive, with hybrids having a pointed tail tip, whereas true wildcats will have a bushy, blunt-tipped tail. And given this, an action plan was put into place by 2013, which united a large group of organizations and experts.
Hold on, I'm gonna read some comments here from my side chat. I see you guys are being chatty. Being the chatty crew today. I grew up with Whoop Dog. He were fluffy. Aw. Leucistic, yeah. That's what put me on the right track, so thank you, sweetie. I tell people that wolf dogs may look like dogs, but don't expect them to act like one. They act more like wolves. So dogs never, that's the funny thing about dogs. They like, the way that we've bred them, their behavioral atavisms. I don't know, atavism, not atavisms, that's the wrong word completely. Neonatic traits, right? That they have infantile traits into adulthood. That they retain, basically the child brain of a wolf. Like, they don't ever reach a mental level of maturity that like a wolf will reach adulthood and stop acting like a child, right? A dog will always act like a child. Or I shouldn't say wolves will just stop acting. They'll still get playful from time to time, but they have a serious adult mode too. There are some breeds of dogs that really that lean more into that too. The more wolf-like dogs. I know I had a Shepsky, which is part husky, part German Shepherd, very primitive dog. And she had a very mature adult demeanor a lot of times. Like, she was an adult and had an adult brain, as opposed to our other dog that we have, which was a little lapdog mutt that, very small, kind of highly diluted from the wolf stock to be like a little lapdog. She was a mutt, but like fluffy terrier and spaniel mix or something along those lines. And she was very much a puppy into old age. She's old now. She's 13, and she's still very much a puppy. So dog brains don't seem to grow up. We had a wolf dog, says Mike. He would never go out and bark at someone. He would always sneak up behind them. I wanted both after researching them. There was no, given how my life has gone the last few years, it's a good thing. Yeah, I wouldn't mind having a Maine Coon or a Norwegian mountain cat.
To conduct research and to promote all aspects of land management to be wildcat friendly, as well as capturing domestic stray cats, neutering them, vaccinating them and then letting them go again, and also to promote proper responsible cat ownership, but also crucially to develop a captive breeding program. And then by 2015 the approach had developed into Scottish Wildcat Action, which continued to gather data and work with local people and to maintain a healthy captive population. But then in 2018 an independent review was carried out by the IUCN into the conservation status of the Scottish wildcat, and it found that there was no longer a viable population in the wild of wildcats, and it was due to inbreeding with domestic cats.
All diluted, completely diluted the gene pool.
This put captive breeding at the front and centre of the Scottish wildcat's survival. And over the past few years, a recovery project has been put into place known as Saving Scottish Wildcats. They've constructed an actual centre, a hub, at the Royal Zoological Society in Scotland, dedicated to not only breeding wildcats but to ensure their training and preparation to be released to the Cairngorms National Park. Saving wildcats is looking to be our best shot at, well, saving the wildcat. Fundamentally, their work can be split into two broad categories, in situ and ex situ. First, let's look at the ex situ work. Now, this is work that is happening not in the wild. This is the work at the centre and within the enclosures. The team is comprised of vets, keepers, construction members and special support from Europe. They've got two main areas, a breeding enclosure.
This kitty did not want their picture taken. This one's not even awake. This one's giving you the, I'm sure, yeah, Sumami, to get this look probably at least once a week, right? When you annoy one of your floofs. Any cat owner has seen this face. Every cat owner knows this face. It's like when they're sleeping on your clothes and you need to get ready for work. It's the face they give you when you pull your clothes out from underneath them, or the face they give you if you try to walk out the door before filling their bowl up. That's a different face. My cats always gave me the weepy face when I try to do that. This is the face that they give you when you like roll them off of something they're laying on when they're sleeping, like when you need it. Like, I need that. And then like they look at you like this, like, the fuck.
Enclosure and a pre-release enclosure. At all times, the welfare of cats is fundamental within these enclosures, ensuring their physical and mental development. A big part of this work is population management, which is all about selecting the right individuals to come to the centre from the wider networks of zoos, centres across the UK, but also, if required, specific individuals can be used from Europe to strengthen genetic viability. And within the release centre, the cats are monitored remotely to ensure that they're having minimal interaction with people before they're released to the wild. And specific tools and methods are being set up to engineer the cat's natural instincts so that when they are released to the wild, they behave in the right way. And now the other side of the work, known as in situ.
Cats really don't need too much redirecting to behave. The cats go right back, even domestic. That's the problem that's caused here. Cats go right back into the domestic. Domestic cats are, saying it backwards. Cats will go right back into their wild state, just like a single generation after being set loose feral in an environment, right? The hunting instincts are there; they're not gone.
This is all of the work that is going on in the wild in Scotland. And this work also has two main areas. Firstly, working with specific release sites, and then to consider the rest of Scotland under a wider approach. So a potential release site has actually been recognised, but it's still kind of early days. They're still working through so many images from camera traps to get a good understanding of what's using this habitat. And also a huge part of the in situ side is working with the local people, ensuring that domestic cats are responsibly cared for and to explore the general feelings and stories around the wildcat. This social work continues out in the wider part of Scotland where...
That is a big part of the way we can approach this. The Scottish wildcat can be a symbol of national pride for these people, right? That's kind of what they did with the bald eagle in the 60s here in the U.S. because DDT was wiping it out, and people were like, "This is our national bird. We have to do something." And people were like, "Holy shit, that's our national bird. We have to do something." And they actually did something. Nice change of pace, if you ask me. So, yeah, just food for thought on ways to approach this with the locals. I think that they would, and maybe they could set a precedent for Europe that could potentially spread to the U.S. about keeping your damn cats inside. And making sure you spay and neuter them so that they aren't producing feral populations because they're detrimental to the environment. Just, again, food for thought.
Habitat modelling is being applied to find more potential sites of release. And of course, the work continues to capture domestic feral cats.
Oh, it's Loki, Thor, and what's your other cat's name, Mike? Shoot, I can't remember. It's the little one. Yeah, Loki, Thor, and Yeah, it's not. I know it's not another Norse god. It's not Balder or anything like that, which would have been cool, but you know, they're your cats.
Stray cats, they're captured, they're vaccinated, they're neutered, and then they're released so that, you know, in the future when true Scottish wildcats are released, they're not going to be affected by these hybrids. So this year at Saving Wildcats, 8 kittens were born across 3 different litters, and this was a result of pairing up 16 different wildcats. So there's hope that there's going to be more to follow soon. Droma, a mother to 3 of the kittens, is doing fantastically well, with this video showing the kittens growing in confidence this month. And it's next year, in 2023, that hopefully these cats will be released to Scotland.
Look at him smiling
too. There's still a lot of work to be done before that point. And you know, with the promise of more kittens on the way soon, this is looking incredible.
I actually got it playing over here on my other screen where I got the live feed coming in, so I'm watching it again. They're so cute. Oh my god, I can't stand it.
Incredibly promising, so please be sure to check out all the ways that you can get on to ensure the future of this project. So head down in the description of the video to find out all the links and everything on how you can help. You know, who knows, one day Leave Curious might make a trip to the centre.
Mauled, the mauled god. I could handle a palace kitty for sure. I know they're like nature's grumpy cat, right? We artificially made grumpy cat, but there's a real grumpy cat that exists naturally. All right, so that's the Scottish wildcat, right? Right? That's awesome. I really again, one of my favorite animals like ever. So please, if you don't know about the conservation efforts and rewilding the Scottish wildcat into its former range, hopefully over the next couple of decades they're reintroduced across Scotland, and then perhaps in the future they may even find their way back into Wales and England. Who knows what the future could hold? So, yeah. All right. So that was a Breeze Bestiary, Scottish Wildcats. I hope you enjoyed that. Yeah, please remember to be kind, take care, and all that jazz. And got one more section of strange science to talk about for you, and then we will, and then we're gonna wrap it up. So stick around, one more segment, and please remember to be kind, take care, and we will see you next time. All right, I'll be back with you right after this short musical interlude. Well, that was awkward because it didn't have the music. I don't know what happened to the music on it. I don't know if the file. I'll have to look into that. Yeah, there was supposed to be a song with that. Sorry, guys. But yeah, that was the and there was my video coming through on my ear too. But we're just going to keep on trucking, guys. First, let me fix this, because there's one I obviously missed when I was fixing these earlier after the reset. So let me fix this up so I don't look weird. I mean, I'll always look a little weird, but that's a given. There we go. That's better. All right. I'm still here. I'm still with you, people. I got one little piece of some strange science for you today. This actually just popped up for me just recently, within the last 24 hours. So this was not an original docket for today, but I couldn't pass it up. It almost deserves its own Cryptic Corner episode, but let's look at it anyway. Welcome to Strange Science. The strange Klerksdorp sphere found in 3-billion-year-old rock. Conspiracy theorists have claimed that the sphere could only have been manufactured, that they rotate on their own. They've manufactured and they rotate on their own. That's wild. Let's find out where the heck this claim's coming from. This is the sphere itself. Nothing's to sphere here. Klerksdorf sphere found inside pyrophyllite deposits mined in South Africa are weird, looking like tiny ancient cricket balls with seam-like lines around the middle. It's easy to see why they became the subject of conspiracy theories involving aliens and ancient forgotten civilizations. In an article in the 1980s, they were speculated to have been made by a higher civilization, a pre-flood civilization, about which we know virtually nothing. While the same museum curator who said this claimed that the spheres rotated on their own accord when locked in a vibration-free display case. Pseudoscientific claims that the spheres could only be manufactured despite being found in 3-billion-year-old rock, while even pseudo-earth scientists believed them to be proof of aliens. This is great stuff. The claim about the spheres caught the attention of geologist Bruce Carncross. Yeah, Bruce Carncross in 2006, who wrote that he had been amused by the articles that described them as mystery spheres, and by one program's choice to have a psychic examine the stones, declaring them to be remains of an ancient spaceship. Carncross offered up a rational explanation for the spheres found in a geological formation known as a Dominion group. The feature is made of conglomerates, much like our heartstones that we covered on Bad Science Sunday last week. So if you didn't watch Bad Science Sunday last week, go back and watch that. Plus watch it tomorrow night, because it's Bad Science Sunday and it's Sunday tomorrow. So that's what you're supposed to watch on Sunday, is Bad Science Sunday. So remember that and follow instructions. Love ya. All right, back to the topic at hand. Conglomerates was the last word I read. With layers of volcanic lava that were deposited on top. After a lot of pressure and heat, the layer of volcanic rock became pyrophyllite, the casing in which the Klerksdorp sphere were found. The spheres spheres is plural. I keep saying singular like there's only one. There's actually more than one. So it's plural. Spheres. I made a mistake when I said it's singular, so you'll have to learn to forgive me for that, and we're just going to keep on trucking. All right, so the spheres are known as concretions, spherical, elliptical, or oblate objects made of different minerals to the host rock and are fairly common, with thousands having been found around the world. They are often found in fine-grained rock like pyrophylites, as it allows for movement of water. They form by precipitation from an aqueous solution and consist of minerals crystallized in the host rock, Carncross explains. And we got a link right here if you all wanted to look at that, but we're going to read on. The spheres are spherical or slightly off spherical, as they form around tiny grains of minerals in a solution containing iron, calcium, and other elements. Because the host rock is evenly textured all around, the growth of the concretion takes place unrestricted in all directions as a 360-degree three-dimensional sphere, Carncross writes, adding that if the liquid is moving or the rock surrounding it is not the same consistency in all directions, the shape can be distorted. The lines across the sphere are caused by imprints from the host rock, which was built up in layers over a long time, leaving the layer effect. Meanwhile, the mystery of why the sphere supposedly spun on its own was explained by the curator of Klerksdorp Museum, after which the spheres were named. Some years ago, I put a ball back in the original position on a glass shelf during a journalist's visit, and he tried to make a sensation of it, Mr. R. Marks explained. It's quite natural that it will rotate a bit as it is round, and we have many earth tremors due to gold mining activity. All right, so cracked open and then debunked, I think. Let's see. Here's Carncross's write up on it. If you're interested in looking at that, it's like cosmic cannonball, a rational explanation. So he looks at the spheres in more detail and kind of cracks open the whole nonsense wrapped around. And this reminds me a lot of my Hexam heads that I covered some time back, except for they had a lot more lore attached to them because of the location they're found in and where people want them to be, or what the people wanted them to represent. Anyway, yeah, I'm not joining right now anyway. So, yeah, that was a little bit of strange science for you. I hope that you enjoyed learning about the Klerksdorp spheres, and now you Klerksdorp spheres, and now you know how to address them when some mud fossil shenanigans comes your way. Please remember to be kind. Take care, and we will see you next time. Oh boy. Boy, oh boy, thank you so much for sticking with me, everybody. Lots of wonderful viewers out there, so appreciate each and every one of you for popping in, for hanging out, and for sticking through, again, all of these topics. We had what we have. We had not a deer, and then we had the legend of the crocodile bird, which they claim the Egyptian plover was, which it wasn't. Then we had, what we have after that? We had the Scottish wildcat rewilding, and then finished up with some strange spheres from South Africa. It's been a fun show. I really appreciate you all, and all the super chats that I got today are much loved. So appreciate each and every one of you, and hope to see you returning again next Saturday, same time, same place, same format, and hopefully with a little less technical issues laced in, but we will persevere no matter what life throws at my doorstep, right? So, love from the hive for my beauties and bees. Please remember to be kind, take care, and we will see you next time.